somebody after you said, no, we don't
Roberto.
do that. We're hams.
Wexaukee Amateur Radio Club, December 5th, 2024, club meeting.
Once.
Did once, yeah.
We did
In
once.
10 years.
When?
Oh, I don't know, Bob. You're asking somebody that can't remember his name half the time, so. It was back when.
You can't. That's a problem, son. You can't remember your name?
Absolutely not.
All right, anyway, just a word of information. We're passing around a card. Leah has had some health issues, as you know, and she spent about 4 days here in Munson, Cadillac. Now she and Van are up at Traverse City. She's in the cardiovascular place up there. So make sure you sign a card. And I want to thank Rich and Lee for filling in. Takes two guys to fill in for Leah.
Yes, sir. Yep. That's the big stuff.
So let's get, and thanks for coming out. The roads are not good. I wasn't expecting this many, so you're awesome. Ready? Read the minutes.
Minutes of the November 7th meeting, called to order at 6:29. Minutes were read and approved. Financials were read and approved. Dues are due. See Lee. Bob still has coax. Buy it from him. And Lynn has the club antenna launcher. Shoot something.
Yes, I did.
Gordy's still asking for pictures and articles for the newsletter. Upcoming presentations, tools for the handbag tonight, ugly project contest in January. Build something. We are doing the second annual Kids Talk to Santa event, December 24th, noon to 2 at the airport. Please spread the news, and we are possibly looking at doing some crayons and color sheets to give the kids something else to do other than play radios.
Do you still need a radio for that?
I haven't even thought about that.
Huh?
You're going to volunteer one?
Absolutely. Same thing we did last year.
Okay.
Okay.
You're on.
Okay.
At the last meeting, my radio was down. It is now back up. My favorite technician put everything back together.
Also known as Dad.
Yeah, it was a comedy of errors. It seems like the one microphone was mispinned. How it worked before, we still don't know. The other one ended up with a loose wire, which is what was causing the original issue. We got the battery fixed in the radio, and then the speaker in that one went out. So, all told, everything at least on my Alinco 135 is back together, and my payment for having him work on it is to put my 10 meter back up. So I'll probably get the 10 meter antenna this weekend, and then when the blizzard stops, I will borrow the antenna launcher and put another
What
line
kind of
in here.
antenna you got?
Just a standard wire. It's honestly, I think it's being quote unquote borrowed from the Midland Club.
Oh, that's cool.
So, just wire.
Tactical acquisition is what we call it.
Huh? Tactical acquisition.
Tactical acquisition.
I think it was in the garage, and and since it was in the garage,
That's cool.
I don't ask where it
Congratulations.
came from.
Good for you.
So, anyway, Phil was looking for a spectrum analyzer to test some handheld radios. We mentioned to talk to Gordy about that.
Who wanted it?
Phil.
Phil.
And we had an update on the community building, and Keith was looking for recommendations, suggestions for what our space there should look like. I did a presentation on old equipment and brought a couple of other fun things to look at, which proves anybody can do a program. And the meeting was adjourned at 7:30 p.m.
And it was a very good program. Move to accept the minutes.
Move to approve.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Right there. All in favor? And opposed, same sign. And we sometimes drove with thank. What?
You said opposed, and I raised my hand.
Oh, well, note that he opposes you, Brandy. We
That was
joke.
an error.
We joke a lot, but Brandy does a great job,
She does.
and it's a lot
Thank
of
you,
work.
Brandy.
So,
Thanks, Brandy.
what am I doing wrong here? I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Can you stand on your
That's the way I
head?
nailed it.
Come on up
Why
here.
should turn it around?
I think it goes that way. Who is this? Sven's wife? She was in the hospital a few days here in
I
January.
don't like using this. You can use this, but
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, financial report.
Okay, November's financial report. That doesn't work. Well, anyway, we got $350 of dues, $11 of 50/50, $48 of coax, $23.20 to Bob, BOB, for takes care of the utilities for us, electric, and we paid our insurance, which is $698.
You need to move that down.
Well, no, I need to go to the next page.
I think
You just pull it down.
you just pull it down.
Oh,
And then we gotta do this.
You want to do things, everything in the same direction.
You're right.
There you go.
okay.
You're right.
Takes,
What's
see,
this?
not only does it take two people to do the do the cookies and coffee, it takes two to do the do the report. My report. Okay, so this is just the summary. Same. Any questions on the financials? I just hear silence, so must be it's okay.
Okay, move to accept the financial report. Gordy? Support. Bob supported. All in favor? Opposed? Same sign? Who just turned that off? Good job. All right,
Who seconded?
Bob. You'll be.
Okay, who motion then? You
Just
Gordon?
make somebody up.
Okay. I don't have much for the report. Ugly project contest next month. You're working on something. It can be a kit, you can restore something, an antenna, bring it in. And I do need some program presenters, so let's look at it. 2025 isn't looking great. We've got the Ugly Project contest, and Lee is going to give us some new discoveries about Parks on the Air and Solar 101 for hams. So you can see we've got some empty slots here. Unless you want to come and sit around for a half hour and look at each other, sign up for doing something. Remember, you don't have to be an expert. There's great videos available not only from ARRL, but on YouTube. Pick a subject that you're interested in, that you want to learn something more about, and find a video that's 15 to 20 minutes long and put it up here. You don't even have to talk very much. So, and they're all very interesting. So there's that. Club activities. Nothing's changed. However, yeah, okay, we got some old business to do. We forgot to do our election of officers. It's a tightly contested event. Here are your ballots. Keep them secret. Just pass them around. Take one or take a few. Stuff the ballot box. We would appreciate it. We just kind of
Write in
overlooked
anybody
it.
you want.
We'll just count them twice.
That's fine.
I'm not a Democrat, I'm sorry.
Can we be bribed?
How much?
Yeah.
Oh,
I got $1 here.
Amen.
Also, ballots are being sent out to every club member. It's really a formality. There's nobody running opposed to anything. There's the no write-in candidates. But we have to do this because of our club bylaws. So when you get done, you want to keep it secret, fold it in half, give it to Brandy. And she will go to the big board and give the results as they come in throughout the evening. Okay?
I don't know why it takes all the evening to do it.
And do the president has said that he would do it for this year, but next year I think he wants to.
Yeah, this is, if I get elected.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my last year, 3 years,
If you get elected.
if I get elected.
I was going to ask if this is just another people attempt to get
Just in
elected.
that pile right there.
I thought it was.
No, seriously, I think the the president of this organization should rotate every 2 or 3 years. There's a lot of good ideas from a lot of good people in here, and I would love to see somebody step up and say, we'll do it. So, anyway.
And nobody's asking one person to do everything.
Right.
There's a lot of good people here that do a lot of different things for the projects they like. So just because you sit in that chair doesn't mean that you're stuck with it.
Exactly. Now, let's see.
Ooh, that's cool.
Let's go here.
Show us that. Yeah.
Oh, my lord. Thanks, Ray.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about Kids Talk to Santa. Last year was our first year doing it. I think all who helped out agreed that it was a success. Probably we could get a few more, and one of your board members, right, Keith? Who is this Jennifer?
She's a board.
What is she? Because this is a quality promotional plan.
She runs political campaigns.
I was going to say, she knows what she's doing. If this plan is implemented, we're going to need a lot of volunteers because there are going to be a lot of kids show up. But just look at some of the things. She's got press releases. Some of those are already going out.
Wow. That has the potential to be massive.
It really could be. I mean, she's pretty serious. Social media campaign, Oh, come on. Facebook. Create events on Facebook pages. Cross-promote with other Facebook pages. Everybody get a chance to buy a ticket? Everybody paid up their membership? I think I'm overdue myself.
I said Cheryl, I says, I got to remember to take the checkbook, and I left it on the kitchen counter and walked right past that.
All right, you all know Gordy,
I've got 3.
and I've come to see him as someone who knows an awful lot about a lot of things, especially related to ham radio. Also gourmet cooking.
Well, we all have to eat.
So he's going to share about connectors. I don't know about you, but I always get nervous before I put any kind of connector on. I don't care what kind it is, how simple it is. And there's that moment of truth when you, in my case, I did get the little multimeter and see if it's shorted out between ground and bed. So he's gonna make it foolproof for us.
Well,
Thanks.
this is like 101. We'll do 201 later. Well, he introduced me, and if you don't know me, you haven't been to many of these meetings. I have a bag here and this is my connector bag. And it's got connectors in it, and it's got the tools to put the connectors on.
Can I borrow that?
Bob does.
Dirty.
My connector tools.
I borrowed them.
Okay, I'll talk about the tools. But anyway, I do this because, when you're going out to work on something and stuff, oh crap, I forgot this, and I just started collecting things and just keeping them in this bag for exactly that reason. And there's a plethora of RF connectors out there, but there isn't a plethora of connectors that we use. So that's kind of what I'm going to touch on, and then look at these tools, and we'll talk about where you can get some of them. Common, PL259, SO239.
Yes, sir.
Just about every radio's got them. These are not a constant, well, we'll talk about constant impedance in a minute. These are commonly referred to as UHF connectors, but you can't use them on UHF. That came from the days when 2 meters was UHF. And so these were UHF connectors because nobody was using stuff above 150 megs. So that's how they got named.
What is the UHF connector now? N connector?
An N connector, yeah. But these are commonly, you'll see somebody refers to a UHF connector. They're probably referring to the PL259 or the SO239. Common, we see these all the time. These are not a constant impedance fitting. This is an N connector, and this is a constant impedance fitting. And now we'll talk about constant impedance. If you look at this inside, you see there's a shell with a center pin, right? and there's the female with a receptor for the center pin and the shell. Well, the distance between that center pin and that shield is maintained throughout the whole connection. So it maintains an impedance of 50 ohms or 70 ohms or whatever the case might be. And in UHF and microwave, that's very important because you get a lot of attenuation if your impedance fluctuates. Not such a big deal on 40 meters, but you get up above 150 megs and it becomes problematic. And these are a bit more time consuming to put on. On almost, well, most RF connectors, there are crimp-on and there are solder. I'm developing a grudging admiration for some of the new crimp-on connectors. I'm still pretty hardcore about soldering things together, but there's some very good quality crimp-on connectors out there now. B and C, or no, these are hardline, Andrews hardline. This is an SO239, so they do make, you know, connectors that aren't constant impedance because they would be used, let's say, on 150 megs and below. You get above that, you're going to have to go to an end fitting. And again, those are for the Andrews hardline. Anybody got hardline up? Am I the only one? Every company that makes a hardline connector makes them different. Dallas can affirm this. You can't go and read up on one particular Andrews connector and then go to an Amphenol and have it installed the same way. How much you strip back, how much you have to fold over, how much center conductor you need, it's different on every single one of them. So make sure that if you get used connectors and stuff, you go out and find your paperwork on it. Because,
That's amazing.
now I use hardline at my cabin. I run buried underground out to my tower. That way I just got one coax going out there and I got a coax switch and I switch things from inside the cabin. But that's all put in, I put in hardline connectors. And there's some hardline connectors in here, I'll get them out. B and C, constant impedance connector. It's got a barrel and a center conductor. Can you see how it fits together? That's a constant impedance connector. Now, these used to be on every handheld. Not so much anymore. SMA has kind of worked its way in. Most handhelds have an SMA female on them. And the antenna screw on a bunch of adapters that can be had for doing various things and stuff. But these are a constant impedance connector. And when we're talking about that, you shouldn't mix them. RF DIN, big on Motorola and commercial RF gear. A lot of Motorola mobiles nowadays have the DIN connector on them. Very expensive. A male DIN for RG8X coax, probably $80.
Wow. That's nuts. What are they made of?
Same stuff PL259s are made out of, it's just a Motorola does it. Refers to a UHF connector. They're probably referring to the PL259 or the SO239. Common, we see these all the time. These are not a constant impedance fitting. This is an end connector, and this is a constant impedance fitting. And now we'll talk about constant impedance. If you look at this inside, you see there's a shell with a center pin, right? And there's the female with a receptor for the center pin and the shell. Well, the distance between that center pin and that shield is maintained throughout the whole connection. So it maintains an impedance of 50 ohms or 70 ohms or whatever the case might be. And in UHF and microwave, that's very important because you get a lot of attenuation if your impedance fluctuates. Not such a big deal on 40 meters, but you get up above 150 megs and it becomes problematic. And these are a bit more time consuming to put on almost, well, most RF connectors. There are crimp-on and there are solder. I'm developing a grudging admiration for some of the new crimp-on connectors. I'm still pretty hardcore about soldering things together, but there's some very good quality crimp-on connectors out there now. B and C, or no, these are hardline, Andrews hardline. This is an SO239, so they do make, you know, connectors that aren't constant impedance because they would be used, let's say, on 150 megs and below. You get above that, you're going to have to go to an end fitting. And again, those are for the Andrews hardline. Anybody got hardline up? Am I the only one? Every company that makes a hardline connector makes them different. Dallas can affirm this. You can't go and read up on one particular Andrews connector and then go to an Amphenol and have it installed the same way. How much you strip back, how much you have to fold over, how much center conductor you need, it's different on every single one of them. So make sure that if you get used connectors and stuff, you go out and find your paperwork on it. Because
That's amazing.
now I use hardline at my cabin. I run buried underground out to my tower. That way I just got one coax going out there and I got a coax switch and I switch things from inside the cabin. But that's all put in. I put in hardline connectors. And there's some hardline connectors in here. I'll get them out. BNC, constant impedance connector. It's got a barrel and a center conductor. You can see how it fits together. That's a constant impedance connector. Now, these used to be on every handheld. Not so much anymore. SMA has kind of worked its way in. Most handhelds have an SMA female on them. And the antenna screw on. A bunch of adapters that can be had for doing various things and stuff. But these are a constant impedance connector. And when we're talking about that, you shouldn't mix them. RF DIN. Big on Motorola and commercial RF here. A lot of Motorola mobiles nowadays have the DIN connector on them. Very expensive. A male DIN for RG8X coax, probably $80.
Wow, that's nuts.
What are they made of?
Same stuff PL259s are made out of, just a Motorola does it. Talking about Motorola, how did they get their start? Anybody know? Anybody guess? Motorola? You know what their first big thing was?
Car radios?
FM car radios. They were the first one to have an under-the-dash FM car radio, the Motorola, and then they started building them for in-the-dash. That's how they got their start.
Oh.
F connector.
That last one, is that proprietary connector to each manufacturer for Motorola because they...
No, DIN is a standard. It's just that Motorola was the one that popularized it on modal rates. Commonly, anybody's been in the military, DIN connectors on everything in the military. F connectors, cable TV,
Satellite TV.
satellite TV. These are 99% of the time a crimp-on connector. SMA. Has anybody ever tried to put one of these on? It's like wiring the balls of a gnat together. Excuse me.
What's the apologies, Randy?
No, that's funny.
She should. Everything is so small, and I had to get a super small tip for my soldering iron. Next time I'll buy a crimp-on. Tools. DX Engineering makes these coaxial tools. Bob has used them. This one, particular one, is for RG8, 213, 214. And it's the strippers, cable grips, one thing or another. I did bring some short pieces of cable if anybody wants to experiment with these and using them. This is for the RG8, 213, 214, PL259 connector. Now they make another one that's green, and that's for the 8X. They don't make anything for the 50, 59, or 58. They also have another one specifically for end connectors. And I have that, but Brad, W8QPO's got mine right now. He's making some jumpers up. So these are on DX Engineering. They're not cheap, but I haven't even changed the blades in this, and I've had it 15 years.
Wow, wow.
And I put a lot of connectors on with this tool. They're, like I said, these three pieces are probably about $80. But once you got them, you got them. It's not like they're really good tools.
And more or less equal size that set. Used it when we put up jet antennas.
They're hard to beat.
Yeah.
Also, this has got, I'll mention this right now. You see this tool here? That tool from DX Engineering is $63. This one with a little shorter handles and slightly ugly can be had at Home Depot for $12.
No kidding.
And it's got the rounded jaws, so when you cut your coax, you're not crushing your dielectric and having to round it out again before you put your connector on. So these curved cutters are important for the bigger cables particularly.
What are those normally designed for?
Larger cables, round cables up to a half inch.
And you got that at Home Depot?
Yeah, $12.
Two things on the right there, the red and the green one.
Yeah.
Those are for holding the cable while you're working on it.
Yep, those are
It's really easy.
right here. There's the grips. There's usually a pair of gloves in here for hanging on to those.
Okay, a stupid question.
No such thing.
So you got the one that's a gripper that holds the cable, and then you have the other tool that cuts it for you while you're doing it at the same time?
We're gonna demonstrate. That will take some of these questions right out of the loop. So much for Christmas decorations.
Yeah.
This is RG213.
That's some good stuff.
That's what the book sells.
That's good stuff.
Okay, this is your cutter, and there's two cutters on this. There's two ends, and if you look at it, it says first cut.
Huh.
Okay, so you can't start with the other one. Now I use those nice rounded cutters, and you see that
Nice.
dielectric isn't smashed.
Smooth. Now, when you buy that,
predetermined distance, I see.
Yeah.
so do you have to adjust that when you buy it for the first time? It's already set?
Comes set.
No kidding.
It's making a mess on the table here, but I can scrape it off.
Look at that.
So, now I would use that blade's probably needs to be changed. Okay, that's cut one. Don't do cut one again. Do cut two. And make sure that this isn't flared out or anything, because there's a hole that goes into, and you'll bend those if you don't pay attention.
Look at that. Now, can you buy those tools separate as you need them? Or it doesn't?
Absolutely.
Look at that.
That
That's
just saved-
perfect.
That just saved me a half an hour.
Yeah.
Exactly. I didn't have to do it twice.
Or 3 times.
Now, if you go through here, you'll find all kinds of different connectors.
Now, you use solder on for those, right? Solder on?
Yes,
All right.
When you solder, Gordy, what type of a soldering gun or iron?
Big Weller. Hotter the better.
I remember those.
Yep.
I got one of those big ones.
They're a little ugly, but by golly, they work.
Yes, they do.
Now, you look at your braid and make sure you don't have anything shorting between the braid and the center conductor. And if your dielectric is cut clean, you can see it very, very well. Okay, the next tool is this little glue job, and this is getting worn out. I'm going to have to replace this. But you thread this in.
Oh, I didn't see that. You got that after I...
No.
Oh no, it's always been there.
You never loaned it to me.
It's because I wanted to watch you suffer. But anyway,
That's all right, you'll get yours.
you put that on, and then he was talking about the grippers. This grips that coax.
So you got a little more.
Yeah, I like to
Look
use
at
that even when
that.
I'm cutting
Is that any,
shields.
any damage in that copper yet, huh?
Look at that. Huh.
Anyway, I won't put it on all the way because I won't have to. But anyway, you see how that works. And you see how it spins the braid so it doesn't short it. And that's how you put it on. And then
Cool.
the thread's in a little further than it should.
So it's not easy to pull back up.
Just a little tweak and it'll spin out.
So you've used that a lot.
Oh yeah, I bet you I put on 200 PL to 59s over the years with it.
Oh my.
So anyway, these are DX Engineering. They make them for 8X, and they make them for,
What does that black one do again?
this holds this connector and helps you thread it on, because it's got threads in there, and it gives you that force multiplier to get that to screw onto that jacket.
Oh, okay, you just didn't do it.
No, I just, because I would just have to take it off.
And then you're not worried about trying to solder the outside shoes, you're just gonna fill up the copper inside that center
Right,
conductor.
right here. I
Yeah,
just
so
get one
you-
or two of those with a good hot iron, and then do the center conductor.
Okay.
And if you look, these are phenolic, they're not plastic. I spend a couple extra dollars. Now let's talk about that just a minute. In the old days, everything was silver plated. Anybody know what the problem with that is? Corrosion. It tarnishes. And silver
is a better.
it's a better conductor, but silver oxide isn't. Silver oxide is diodic, and you will actually can set up a diode and it will rectify on oddball frequencies. So something that is going to be where there's weather, you're better off with something that isn't going to get tarnish on. And these nickel connectors and chrome connectors are a better deal for that.
Are they really? Here, I'm pretty sure I got all the silver ones.
I will sit here and
Yeah.
anybody wants to play with that.
I hadn't thought about that. That's, good point.
Well, with silver solder that I bought.
That's what they were saying.
Rogers, dumpster,
So, go ahead.
What kind of solder do you use then?
60-40, 10. I don't use silver.
I just bought a big overall.
It's better for inside, but you're not always going to do it inside. I can use a good solder inside and outside. If I get silver, it's inside. If you're going to get moisture on it, or it can get wet, you can get tarnish, you can get rectification.
So just use 60-40 and call it good.
Yep.
Alright.
You know what it is, Gordy, it's lead is bad.
Yeah, well. Crimpers. And these crimpers,
Yeah.
these particular ones, have got 6 or 7 different jaws. They'll work on SMA all the way up to the larger connectors for all of the F fittings and anything that's got that crimp ring.
That's cool.
This works. And these little ones are for your crimp on end connectors and BNCs.
The one in the center, is that the F compression?
F, yes. This one right here works on F on both 58 or 59, RG6, and RG11. It'll work on all of them. So, and the other one's a stripping tool. And I didn't bring any 75 ohm, but you just put it on, spin it with your finger, pull it off, and it's ready to go. It's all right. Those go through blades a bit quicker, but everything's cheap. Questions for this says end of slideshow. So, all these tools are up here. If anybody wants to strip some coax, it's there. I've got some more.
You won't notice if those come up missing.
I will. When you demonstrate these.
That's cool. Look at that. That's amazing. Thanks, Gordy.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Maybe I got a cutting tool, I suspect it would cut like hot gauge copper.
Probably, but I get it just for.
Yeah, doing just for that. I'm
Yeah.
trying
Holy mackerel, what the hell are you doing up there?
a lot of amperage. You want to run through 200, 300.
That we end here.
Okay.
We'll do the 50-50. But I think you'll all want to come up and
Blake.
at least play with the knife.
Yeah.
You know, boys like to play with knives.
Anybody bring
But
back
let's
any-
give Gordy a big hand. That was a
Thank you,
great
Gordy.
presentation.
Thank you a lot, thank you.
Gordy, what are these called?
Gotta wait, Tom.
About $80.
Gotta wait. We're gonna
Come on,
get your tickets
DX
out.
Engineering and put coax prep tools and we'll take a review. Oh, okay, that's what I need to know.
Get your tickets out.
Ready?
We are ready.
Okay, the last 3 digits are 830.
I told you had a winner.
Way to go, Ray.
Nice going, Ray.
All right. Thanks for coming. Meeting's adjourned. Come up and play with some stuff.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending.